Honestly, like what I normally do is like, yeah, I start recording, but like, yeah, we'll just be talking casually, but eventually, like, yeah, we'll get into it. But welcome everybody to the David Araki podcast. This is my first guest that I'll have of like, I guess first in the sense of YouTube video. So yeah, Kaylin, you're gonna be the first episode that I put out on YouTube. That's like a new recording and not like an old recording. So could you go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody?
Sure. So my name is Kaylin, and I'm a third-year pharmacy student at the University of Washington School of Pharmacy. And I currently intern in an inpatient hospital here in Seattle, Washington. And then on the side, I also do I dabble in DJing. So it's kind of my passion, or kind of more of like my hobby right now, but something I'm very passionate about. And I think it's nice because it feels like a breath of fresh air for me from pharmacy school and being so black and white.
Okay, I don't think pharmacy school is like black and white or anything. Like there's I mean,
Oh wait,
granted like
I
I know a lot of pharmacy school students, I'm sure you do too and everything, but like yeah, I feel like that's not something a lot of people go into. I don't know. Maybe like I'm just my skew is like different on how I see people. Well, I'm mentally slow today. But anyway, but anyways, like how did you get into like the field of like pharmacy and everything? Like that's kind of interesting. Or like what
oh
got you interested in it?
right. Oh yeah, yeah. So also like backing it up to the whole black and white thing. I guess I meant like more in like the way you think. Like,
Mm,
medicine's kind of like it has to be like use this to treat this, right? But in like
mhm.
music, like you don't there's no like formula for anything. Like you kind of just like do it. Yeah. But anyways, what got me into pharmacy?
Yeah.
Um, so I I guess like it all started when I was in middle school and I had no idea what I was doing with my life, but I'm just the type of person that like I need to know what I'm doing with my life or I'm just lost and I don't know. I'll just like do whatever and like I'll feel like my life is in disarray. And so like my parents are pharmacists, so I decided that I would just kind of like follow in their footsteps and at least like set that as my goal. And then when I got into high school, I took more science classes and I realized I was actually good at science and it just made sense for me to pursue pharmacy. And um, I didn't want to go into medicine like or become a doctor because I just can't really do blood and
Mm.
um yeah, like, and that's also why I can't do nursing either. Like, I just body fluids just make my stomach feel like upset. So pharmacy is definitely like a little more clean. But like you still get that patient interaction and you still get to learn about medicine and do science and stuff.
Oh, okay. You brought up something very interesting in the beginning of that thought about how like you need like order in life or something, if I heard that correctly. Could you like expand
Hmm.
on that a little bit, or like talk about like this disarray or something? If like I think I don't know. It's I just want to get into the mind of Caitlin. That's kind of like what a goal of
Oh,
this podcast is.
yeah, I think like I've definitely fallen into like that capitalistic like way of thinking, I guess, where like I have to be productive all the time. And so I just don't like to like do like from day to day. I don't like to like have a lot of time where I'm just doing nothing. Like I try to make it so that like everything I'm doing somehow like improves, enhances my life or like my character. Like for example, I don't really watch Netflix. Like I know a lot of people do, and like a lot of people watch like shows and stuff. And for me personally, like I just I feel like it's like a waste of my time, so I don't like to watch shows because I feel like I'm not really gaining anything from it. I like prefer to watch YouTube and learn learn things from it, like tutorials and stuff like that.
Okay. What kind of tutorials do you like to watch? Like, what's your COVID, I guess, like hobby for like YouTube of things to watch?
Um, I do watch a lot of different things. Lately I've been watching a lot of cooking videos. Like I'm trying to get better at cooking because that's like definitely a practical skill. And um yeah, so that's something I've been watching a lot of. And then I'll also watch like DJing things,
Mm,
DJ YouTubes too, like trying to see like what other people do and get ideas and stuff like that.
okay. what are you trying to become a master at making, like cooking wise?
Cooking, I really want to get better at making Asian food, and especially specifically Chinese food, because like my mom is from China and she used to cook me like a lot of Chinese food growing up. And I realized that I didn't really pick up on any of it because I don't know, I just didn't like care to learn. And now that I'm older, I'm like, wow, that's part of my culture and I feel like I should embrace it. So I've been trying to learn like a lot of Cantonese dishes and even Mandarin, just like Chinese food in general, I guess.
What's the difference between Mandarin and Cantonese Chinese food?
I'd say like Cantonese very like sauce heavy. Wait, I don't know what's the difference actually. I just know like the different dishes.
Yeah.
Like Mandarin food has a lot of like dumplings and like noodles, like kind of like what you eat at Din Tai Fung if you've ever been there.
Oh,
Or I
that's
guess
like
that's
my
like
favorite
Taiwanese.
like place to go to whenever I'm up in Seattle. Like that place is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. That's more like Taiwanese food, but I like associate Taiwanese food and Mandarin food like kind of together. And then Cantonese is like definitely like a lot. It's very oily, honestly. It has like a lot of oil and like different like seasonings and sauce and stuff like that.
Is that like the stir fried stuff, like the stuff in like black bean sauce or oyster sauce and stuff like
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's a Cantonese dish.
Oh, I had no idea that there was like a difference between like Chinese foods and stuff. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I know that they taste different. Like, do you think the Chinese food in where you're at tastes different than the food back home?
It tastes. I don't know. It tastes kind of similar, I guess. There's like a lot of Chinese people here and in Hawaii, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of there's more Mandarin people here though, for sure.
Mm. Yeah, because like when I was in the Midwest, like I definitely thought the Chinese food there was very different from the food back home. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Maybe
like
it's because
it's
there's
it's
not
it's
that
hard to
many
describe
Chinese
though.
people.
Like, well, I mean,
Oh,
there was a fair amount of Chinese people where I was at. It's just that like the flavor wise is very different. I don't know. That's and it's like hard to
yeah,
describe like the differences in flavor too because like I'm sure they use the same or very similar ingredients, but yeah, I don't know. It just the style is a little bit different. Was I guess the best way I can like describe it or something.
right. Oh,
Hmm.
okay. That's
Yeah,
interesting. Well, maybe I'll like try it one day if I ever go there.
yeah. You never know. I mean, yeah, there's not much traveling going on right now. Have you been traveling since all the start of all of this COVID stuff?
Not really. I
Uh,
just go home when I can, but like I try to be safe about it, you know, like get
mm,
tested and then quarantine at home for a little bit.
mhm.
Yeah.
Was I honestly don't know what they're making people come into Hawaii do. Like, did you have to take a COVID screen or anything before coming here?
Yeah. So Hawaii has like this new thing where you have to test 72 hours before you come on the plane. And if you don't, you have to quarantine for 10 or is it 14 days, I believe, back in Hawaii. And they'll monitor you. I heard they go to people's houses and stuff like that. So, or they'll call you, make sure you're at home. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like initially there was like there was all those stories of like people violating like the quarantine order or something. Like it was like a lot of local celebrities
Yeah.
too, which is kind of crazy, but I mean, it is what it
Right.
is, I guess, like during a pandemic.
Yep.
Um, has your courses or like your classes or anything changed because of COVID? Like what was well, I guess like what was class like before COVID versus like, during COVID or even like say now?
Before COVID, I'd say that there's a lot, like we're definitely a lot more efficient. Like the way the professors present information is a lot more efficient because it's timed, right? Like everything fits within that um like 50 minutes that we have in class for like as compared to when we're in class, people would ask questions like interrupt and stuff. So like sometimes the professor wouldn't get through all the notes and then like we'd be behind and stuff. So I'd say in that sense it definitely changed for the better. Like just having things like a little more organized and think like the materials always like prepared and yeah.
And it's like all Zoom classes or something.
Yeah, it's all Zoom. It's
Oh.
actually very convenient. Or I don't know, personally, like very unpopular opinion, but I like Zoom classes. Like I never went to class before anyways. Uh, I would like I'm more of like a study on my own type of person. Like I don't like listening to people like talk because I don't know, it just
Mm.
bores me. So I rather just like look at the slides myself. So I would go to school, but like I'd be in the library while everyone's in class and I'd be studying the same material while they're in class, you know? Because that was more
Oh.
like productive for me. Yeah. So now I don't have to like waste my time going to school and like commuting and getting rained on. Like I'm just home and like I can do it here.
All right, I'll take that as study advice. Don't go to class and just study on your own.
Okay, it doesn't work for everyone, but it works for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm very much the same way too. Like, oh God, my parents listen to this podcast. But yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of going to classes, but thankfully, in undergrad, I had all the lectures recorded, and that's definitely how I learned everything. Because it's like sometimes there's a lot
yeah.
of dead time during class, or like sometimes some professors talk slower than others, or even some too fast. But when you have the recording, you can speed it up or slow it down, and you can pause when you need to and everything. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I definitely like studying that way better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's why it would throw me off because like sometimes like I would like get distracted in class and I'd miss something like maybe like 30 seconds of stuff and I just wouldn't know where they are and then I just give up on paying attention because I'm like, okay, I don't know what's happening now. So and then that's why I felt like going to class was a waste of my time.
Mm. So you don't necessarily pay attention too much to the lectures. Do you just read out of like the textbooks and stuff, or like
I
how
read
do
their
you teach and
slides. I
stuff?
mean, now I do listen to the recorded lectures because it's there and I'm like, oh, I can hear the whole thing. So I might as well, you know? But
Hmm.
I prefer to look at slides. Like I'm a visual type of person.
Okay. So
Yeah.
so when you're like say studying for a test or something, is that like mainly what you do? Just look at slides? Is there any like secrets? I want some study advice.
Um, yeah, I'd say honestly, looking at the slides, I feel like the best way to learn though is like when you have hands-on experience. So like that's where my internship comes in, where I love my internship. I think it's like amazing. And it's kind of, like you honestly get what you put into it. So you can do the bare minimum, like work every other weekend. But I try to work as much as I can and like I'll shadow like for free because like they don't pay me for that, but I'll ask them to come in and like I'll ask them to like go over like certain things or show me certain patients that like for disease states that I'm not really familiar with yet, or comfortable with. And then it just helps to like actually see it in real life and like see how like a pharmacist thinks about like treatment or drug regimen and stuff like that. So I feel like that's the best way to learn. But like, not everyone has that privilege. So
Mm. Okay, that's very interesting. Yeah, I definitely feel like if you're a visual learner, what you just described is definitely the way that would be best for other visual learners. Just like learning by like seeing and kind of doing, I guess. Um, I guess like here's another question I had about pharmacy. Like I don't know, everybody sees pharmacists as like somebody sitting behind, say, like a Longs or like a Safeway and just dispensing out meds. What I found out recently was that that isn't actually the case. Like not all pharmacists do that. Could you talk about like what other type of jobs pharmacists have?
oh, okay. Yeah, that's a really good question. And that's something I learned about in pharmacy school. So when I got into pharmacy school, I also thought that too. I mean, like I knew, like I worked in retail as a tech, so I really knew what pharmacists did in retail. And then my parents work in inpatient pharmacy, like in a hospital. But whenever I'd ask them, like, "Oh, what do you guys do?" Like they didn't really like give me a good answer, so I never quite understood it. And I tried to shadow in hospital like I couldn't really do much. So I still didn't get what they really did. I just knew they verified orders and stuff. Um, so like being in school, I realized like how much of a role, like how big of a role pharmacists play in the healthcare system. And it's pretty crazy how much information they know. Like they they can read lab values and like read charts and stuff like that. And we're even like taught like somewhat we kind of go into like diagnosis of like disease even though we don't necessarily like use that in practice. Like it's kind of like cool to know. And I think that's kind of like what you learn in medical school too. So we kind of have background on it. And then aside from inpatient and outpatient pharmacy, there's like non-traditional paths, which is actually something I'm interested in. So like you can go either into industry pharmacy, which is like biopharmaceutical, like drug development and medical science liaisons, like that's all like the industry side. And then there's managed care pharmacy, which works with insurance companies and builds formularies, drug formularies. And yeah, that's also something I'm like really interested in right now is managed care pharmacy. So yeah, those are like two sides of pharmacy that I didn't know about until I came to pharmacy school. And yeah, it's very interesting. It's super complex.
Mm-hmm. So you said that you'd probably want to join industry or something after you graduate.
Yeah, or yeah, industry or managed care. I'm definitely looking at the non-traditional pharmacy paths right now.
Okay. What is the work-life balance for somebody after pharmacy school?
After pharmacy
Yeah, like
school,
what is the work-life balance like?
it depends what part of like what exactly you're doing. Like if you get a residency, you have no life. Like literally work is life. Like I think you just go to work and you spend a lot of time at work. You bring homework home, you have to study it, like do lots of presentations and case studies. Um, but that's only usually like a 1 to 2 year thing. If you go into like managed care pharmacy or industry pharmacy, it's like a 9 to 5 job. And then outpatient and inpatient, it just varies. Like you can work like any kind of time. Like in the morning, you can work overnight. So it's just there's like so many paths that you can take.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty good. I mean, I guess that means that there's something for everybody out there, right?
Yeah, there
Yeah.
really is.
Mm. So, what was your path into pharmacy school like? Like, was it, would you say it was more difficult or more unusual than, say, like some of your other classmates or peers? Or was it pretty traditional?
My path into pharmacy, I'd say it's pretty. I took a very traditional path. Like I did like basically what everyone else did. Like I worked as a technician first. I majored in microbiology, which is like most people major in like bio or biochem or chemistry or something. So some kind of science. Um, yeah, took the PCAT, applied, got in. The only different thing I did was I only applied to one school because I did early start or
Mm.
no, what is it called? Early application. Yeah.
Or like
Anyways,
early
yeah. So
admit
I
or
applied early
something?
to UW. Yeah,
Oh,
early
okay.
admit. Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah, and so I only applied to UW and I put all my eggs in one basket, and then luckily I got it. So
Nice. I don't know. Like, I know that's a really controversial like subject too. Like, a lot of people say don't put all your eggs in one basket, but I don't know. I'm the type of person that puts all my eggs in one basket. It's like, oh, this is gonna work, or else it's just not. Like,
yeah,
I don't really like dedicate much time or like resources or like effort into like a backup plan. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. And so far, I think it's worked
yeah,
out like well enough. But
yeah. I don't think there's a
yeah.
right or wrong way to do it. So
Yeah, yeah. It's good to hear that there's like, other people out there like me. They're like, no backup plans. Like we're gonna do this one. We're gonna make it work one way or another. Like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it shows that you're passionate, right?
yeah. But the problem for people like us, if I'm like, got a good understanding of you and everything, is like we're just too interested in like too many things. Like right now, like I still have this grad school stuff with plans to go into med school, and then I also have this podcasting, and I'm also thinking about trying stand up, so I might try that in between finishing grad school and med school. We'll see what happens.
Oh, wait, that's very
Yeah,
interesting. Stand-up comedy?
yeah, stand up comedy.
Oh, I feel
I,
like you could do it.
I'd probably have to move to like Austin or something. That's where all the comics are
Yeah.
moving to nowadays. So
Oh, really? It's booming there, I heard. Or like starting to. So,
yeah, just because all the celebrities are like moving out of like California and other places to like Texas for whatever reason. And like I think Austin's like the most like, I guess, like left leaning city in all of Texas or something. So it makes sense that why
yeah.
a lot of people are
Uh-huh.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we can get into like the really interesting stuff about your DJ career, or you like maybe, yeah, what you just called a hobby. But I don't know, you never know. I know a lot of people like in who have had jobs in healthcare who like took a step back or walked away from it to pursue like something else. Like
Mm-hmm.
like how
Mm-hmm.
did I guess like what got you interested into like wanting to become a DJ?
Um, well, I I think I've always loved music, and like in particular, I really like EDM. And it's actually the first music genre that I actually found that I like. Like I remember growing up, like, everything that was popular was like like rock or pop and hip hop. And like I would
Mm.
listen to it, but I was never like crazy about it. Like I would just listen to it because like everyone else did. And when I heard EDM, I remember it was like Skrillex or something like really old,
Mm.
like early dubstep. And like I was like, oh my gosh, I really like this. And it was a very unpopular opinion at the time. Like all my friends were like, it's literally sounds like noise. Like, what are you listening to? And I don't know why, I just
Uh,
really liked it. And ever since then, I've just been like hooked on EDM. Like I'll listen, like it's like the only genre I'll listen to. I'll listen to other things too, to like
mm.
expand kind of, but primarily that's kind of like where I am and what I mix. And yeah, and then I have like a background in music kind of. Like I played piano since 5 years old. And um and then I like to sing too. Like, I'm not saying I'm the best singer or anything, but
Uh,
like I can keep a note at least. um, yeah, so like I feel like all that put together, like I was like, oh, I feel like I could do it. And then I started hearing people like put out like mixes, which is basically like songs sewed together on SoundCloud, which is kind of like a Spotify, but it's different, like a different platform, I guess. And I was like I liked it. It was good. Like people are good, but I felt like they didn't play songs that I wanted to hear. And so I just was like, you know what? I feel like I can do this too. Like I have a background in music, and I feel like I have a good like library of music too. So I just like pulled the plug when quarantine happened because I had so much free time. And then that's how it happened.
okay. What's your SoundCloud or Spotify so listeners can find some of your music?
Oh, okay. My SoundCloud is soundcloud.com/Kaytoxik, and that's spelled Kaytoxik. And you can just like Google it or something. And then my Spotify artist name is also the same, Kaytoxik. And I actually just released a song today with another DJ called Complex Colors. Yeah, so it's like out on all platforms right now, like Apple Music, Amazon Music, etc.
Oh, this is great. So I got the first like interview with you after that new release. So that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, it was just today. Yeah.
So you said was so you're saying that it was like a Skrillex song that was like one of your first EDM songs that you've ever heard?
Yeah.
I'm assuming it was what was that, like Nice Sprites and
Yeah, it was that song.
yeah,
I think it was like
had a
from like a
feeling.
movie. I forget which movie.
That song was in a
Was it like
movie?
Project X? Yeah, it was like
Oh,
Project X,
okay.
that
Yeah,
that
that
one
song might have
movie.
been in a movie. I thought that was Pursuit of Happiness in that.
Oh, was it? I don't
Yeah,
remember,
it
but I just remember
was.
hearing it and I was like, wait, I love this song.
Yeah, because I think for me, my first EDM song might have been like a LMFAO song in like middle school or something.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like maybe like Party
I feel like
Rock
I know
Anthem or
which one. Like
something.
Party Rock. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that was like a lot of people's favorite song growing up. Wow, we're really showing our age.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy because like it's not even that long ago. At least I don't think it's that long ago. But like when you look at like the dates and everything, it's like wow, that was over 10 years ago. Like for me, I'm approaching my 10-year I guess like reunion time. Like next year, yeah, it'd be 10 years since I
Oh,
graduated high school. Don't know if we're doing anything yet because of like, COVID. Don't know how the
COVID.
extent of like, what the world is going to be like next year or anything. But yeah, a lot of my classmates are pretty busy. So, and there hasn't been any talks about it yet. So we'll see if it happens or not.
Yeah, dang. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Time does fly when you get older.
Yeah. So have you been listening to like EDM since like, middle school? Around when you said that you
Um,
first heard that song?
I think it was like I forget when I was. It was like sometime in high school. I don't quite remember. Maybe it's like my junior, senior year of high school when that song came out.
Mm,
I don't really remember.
yeah, I don't remember
Yeah,
too
and that's
much,
ever
but
since then.
oh, it's been like EDM all the way through.
Yeah,
So
like the past 7 or 8 years now.
okay, starting with dubstep. Yeah, what blows my
Mm-hmm.
mind is that like I had no idea that there were so many like subgenres within like EDM. Like, are there any that you would say that are influences for you, or like you'd say that, oh, I'm this type of like DJ?
Yeah, yeah, there are so many genres, and I feel like they all came out. A lot of them came out recently, like more recently. Um, but I'd say I definitely mix melodic dubstep, which is kind of like that typical like Skrillex sound, except like it's a more melodic. Like you will hear like more like piano and vocals, and like it's a little like soft, has a more softer tone to it than like just like hard like like those like really intense drops and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's like it's called melodic dubstep, and then I'd say that's like the realm that I try to be in, but I'm like really open to expanding and like
Mhm.
working with other genres too.
Okay. So what makes dubstep dubstep? I don't know if is that even like a good
Dub
question compared to like say
okay,
something,
I don't know if
but compared to like
I'm
other like I guess like genres of like dubstep or like of EDM. Like I know like
yeah, okay. I don't know if I'm the best person to ask. Like, I know there's a lot of technicalities behind it because I'm not like, I just kind of dabbled in production recently. So I'm not like
mm,
the most knowledgeable, but when I hear it, I know it's dubstep. Like, it's like usually that wub wub sound, like, and then it usually like depends on like the beats per minute. It's like it can get really technical and like the types of sounds you use, like the types of like beats you
mm,
use. So yeah, but they usually are like all in 150 beats per minute.
oh,
Yeah,
that's
for
fast.
dubstep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has so you mentioned earlier that you have or you played piano growing up and you have some singing experience. Do those two things help you with your hobby now?
Yeah, it actually does. I think it makes it a lot easier for me to hear like if something's in a major or minor key or like sewing songs together when I create a mix, like you kind of want to use keys that translate well into each other or else it sounds weird. Like people will notice like, oh, that sounds off. So I think having a music background definitely helps and definitely with like writing music too. So like our most recent song, which is called What's Left of Us, that's on Spotify. That's the one that I was talking about earlier. Um, there's like piano interludes in the beginning, and then the vocals are like by me. So it just makes it a lot easier, I think, because I can do it myself, rather than having to like rely on like someone else or like I don't know how to. If I didn't know how to play the piano, I don't really know how I would have put together like that melody.
Mm. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Because yeah, for this podcast, like I still don't really have like a introduction song or anything. And like I've been trying to mess around. It's just like, geez, I don't know how these like music producers do it, man. It's pretty difficult to come up with like a tune or like a beat that's like good sounding or like decent sounding.
Yeah,
Like not even like good.
yeah.
Like even producing something half decent is like pretty hard. I'm like, oh, it's just like so frustrating. I'd rather just outsource and just pay somebody else to do it or something. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy. So how long have you been DJing for?
Um, it's been since like I think I dropped my first mix in April or May of last year. So it hasn't been like exactly a year, but like almost like maybe like 10, 11 months at this point. Yeah.
Mm.
So like very short.
Were there like any barriers to entry or like obstacles that you had to I guess like overcome before you could like actually start like making music?
Not real not really. Honestly, my biggest barrier is time because like
Mm.
balancing it with pharmacy school, like I'm not gonna lie, making a mix and like creating songs takes so long. It like if you want it to be good, like obviously I can just throw something together really quickly. And I've done that before. Like I've thrown together something in like 48 hours. And I don't think it's like it sounds like great or anything, but like, you know, it's decent. But
Mm-hmm.
if you want it to sound really good, it takes like this my last mix took like over a week, and sometimes it can take like over a month, like if you have a block, like a creative block or something. Yeah, and just because I spend a lot of time like studying or have work, it's really hard to find time sometimes, and it stresses me out a lot. But I think it's worth
Mm.
it, so you know, I'm willing to suffer for it.
How long did the song that you released today take to produce?
We've been working on it for like I don't know. I want to say like October, but I don't even remember now. Maybe even before that. It Yeah, I think it was like October. So been like November, December, January, February, March, like 5 months or less maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Like I just can't believe that like yeah, you DJs and stuff can put out like song like in a whole album or whatever, you know, in like a year or however long it takes like a lot of them to do it. Like that's crazy to me. Like I would not be able to do any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any plans to like put out an album, or is it just like singles until you have a little more free time?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll even ever have time to put out an album, nor do I think I have like the skill yet. Like I'm still
Mm.
learning like how to work the software.
Mhm.
So it's definitely a learning curve. Like right now I'm like struggling to find time to like take the time to learn the software. Yeah. So
No,
we'll see.
I totally get that.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
like even
Also,
for me. Oh, okay. Go for it. Sorry.
oh wait, sorry. I just realized that my laptop is gonna die, so I'm gonna grab my charger real quick. Sorry.
Oh, that's
Is that
fine.
okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, okay. Sorry. BRB.
Hey guys, just a quick break. I wanted to talk about our sponsor of this podcast, Anchor. Anchor is a free all-in-one podcasting suite accessible on any computer or mobile device. I've been getting a lot of questions, honestly, about like how did I start my podcast? And my journey started with me trying to find a software which allowed me to do everything I needed, such as recording and editing. And honestly, like Anchor like went above and beyond that. It allows, or it definitely makes it easy for you to get published on various popular apps such as Spotify and Apple and Google podcasts. And it also helps you get monetized by setting you up with sponsors as your channel or your podcast begins to grow. Even if you're not like a podcast creator, you should definitely download this app, as you can find your favorite podcast and listen to it there, or you can explore and find new podcasts like these. So yeah, download the free Anchor app today from the Google Play Store or the App Store, or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Okay, sorry. I'm
Oh no,
back.
it's fine. Don't worry about it. Like honestly, like breaks are good because like that's like a good place for me to put in like ads and stuff.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
like
good.
it's like a secret that I have. It's like, oh, whenever like somebody has to use the bathroom or something, or if there's like any like a boring section, I'll just like stitch in like a ad or something, which reminds me
Yeah.
like
Oh, okay, good.
yeah,
I was like, oh shoot, I hope I don't ruin it. But my
oh
laptop's legit gonna die.
yeah, don't worry about it. Like even if it's like a boring portion or like a slow portion in the podcast, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. It happens, but like, that's like the nice thing about music or like any audio thing. You can just like fast forward it like a few seconds to see if it's like up to
Yeah,
somewhere
that's true.
more interesting, I guess. But yeah, what were we talking about? We were talking about production. You said it took you 5 months to make your last song, and you said you don't know about albums right now. Yeah. um so I guess like another question I had was like, I've been seeing that you've been posting or you've been playing in a lot of like live sets. Are those on Twitch or something? Or
Oh yeah, yeah, live streams.
yeah, like how did you get into that? Like that sounds super cool. Like
Yeah, so I didn't intend for any of this to happen. Like it just happened because like this started as a passion for myself, right? Like I was
Mhm.
just putting it out on SoundCloud for myself to listen to. Like I like to listen to mixes when I study. So I would listen to my own mix, honestly, a lot. And I was like my own biggest fan. And then suddenly like people started like listening to it, like who I didn't even know. And people started messaging me on SoundCloud and like finding my social medias and messaging me there. And like and then this guy from Seattle actually who I had seen in person like at a live show once because he's like played at a live show. He like reached out to me and he was like, oh, like I want to showcase you on a discovery project that I'm doing. So he's trying to get smaller DJs to play and like blow them up or help them like gain more traction, I guess, for their
Mhm.
music. And yeah, and then that's kind of when it all started. And then from there, like a lot of people started reaching out to me. And then I joined like 2 collectives. Um, yeah, and that's just kind of how I made the connections to be on live streams. And now just people will reach out to me to play.
Oh, okay. Are you able to say which DJ reached out to you?
Yeah, his name is R squared.
Oh, I
Um,
honestly don't know much about like DJs and everything, but like, yeah, is this person like kind of big or something?
yeah, well, I've heard of him and I've seen him. He's like open for people before. I think he went to Western Washington University, and then I know he was like a part of some kind of like minority like thing up there, and then he would play something like that. I don't quite know, honestly. My friend just knows him, and then she was telling me all this about him. So yeah, it's kind
Oh,
of
okay.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is really cool. Like, that's really cool. Like, he's wanting to help up and coming DJs, like help them gain some traction and more exposure and everything. Like, I feel like in
Yeah.
I feel like in a lot of fields, like there isn't like that type of like I guess like fellowship. A lot of the time, what I've
Hmm.
noticed in like a lot of like fields and whatnot, it's like it's a competition between like your peers versus like, oh no, like we can all like succeed or thrive together. So like that's really refreshing to hear that there's somebody like that in your field or in the
Yeah,
music
actually,
industry.
I realized that a lot of people in the music industry, or at least like who I know,
Hmm.
everyone's super uplifting towards each other and like yeah, just like really supportive of each other, which is really crazy and I actually really like it. Like I love the community and how positive everyone is.
Yeah, like that's something I'd like to see be expanded to like aspects in like everybody's life, really. Like that's honestly like a small goal of this podcast. Like, we're all in our like 20s and everything. Nobody's really, I guess, like, famous or anything yet. But it's like, oh, maybe we can do this like together. We can all like in a sense like, pitch each other, help, each other gain more of an audience or a following or like just expose give them some exposure, and then the way I see it is like when the tide rises, like all the ships should rise too. Like I don't
Yeah.
know, that's my perspective at least, but that's like super cool. How did you meet the person you did this collab with? Was it through one of those live stream events?
Yeah, so he was in the same collective as me, and then I actually didn't know anyone in that collective except for like 2 of the guys. Like one guy who reached out to me, I had known of him through my cousin actually, and the
Mm.
other one he went to my high school, so I just knew who he was. Yeah, and then Complex Colors, that's his name, who reached out to me. He just like messaged me on Instagram, and then he was like, "Hey, like let's collab on a song." And he's actually a producer in Hawaii. I think he like ghost produces for like a lot of big names back home. I don't remember exactly who, so I'm not gonna say because I don't want to
Oh.
like spread rumors or anything. But
Right,
I
right,
remember
right.
I knew like some people he was like some of the names he was saying. I was like, oh wait, I know who that is. So
Okay,
yeah,
you
like
can
he's
tell me off
good.
air.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right.
Okay, that's super cool. I didn't even know that like ghost writing for music was like a thing, but I guess it makes
Yeah.
sense. I mean, yeah, there's ghost writers everywhere, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, that is so cool. So is this song that you have out, would you consider this like a melodic like dubstep?
I'd say it's just dubstep.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
yeah, it's not super melodic.
Like what's the
Because
process of like collabing with somebody as well? Like that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's very different because we are in a pandemic, and he lives in Hawaii and I'm up here. So
Mhm.
we just zoomed a lot, and like we actually have like this website or application, I guess, that you can download, and it'll share your project files. So you can work on it, and then it'll automatically share to them, and then they can see what you've done and they can work on it. And it's super cool. It's called Splice, if you've heard of it.
No, I haven't. So it's almost like a Google Docs, but for music production.
Music. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, that's super
Yeah.
cool. Uh, oh yeah. Hmm. What other questions do I have for you? Do you have any questions for me or anything? Like, yeah, this isn't really. I just wanted to really have like a more of a conversation, really. Like, it's. I don't want to make you feel like you're on the spot or you're being interviewed or anything. It seems pretty one-sided.
Oh, yeah. Um, yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
Um, is it was it like difficult to start this whole podcast series?
Well, it's something I've had in. It's something I was thinking about for like the longest time, and then
Uh-huh.
COVID hit, and then like you, I was just like, you know what? Let's just like get this going. But like, yeah, it's been something I've been thinking about for actually like a couple of years now. So like, yeah, I've slowly started to listen to more podcasts than music. And I was just like, huh, like running like a talk show or something like this is like something that I thought I could do. And it's like, like why not try it? And then like initially I thought, oh, I want like a microphone, but like when I first started recording episodes, I didn't have a microphone. I just used like my headphones and everything, and that was a disaster. Um, but like yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like slowly building something up. Like what I realized is like you're not gonna be where you want to be like overnight. It's gonna take time, and I figured like just constantly putting out episodes, trying to be consistent, even though like life happens now. Yeah, like I just figured put it out. If people like it, they'll listen, and if they don't, then there's like a million other like of other things they could listen to in the meantime. But yeah, it's just been a journey. Is like the best way I could describe this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there like
Yeah, no, I
anything
think that's cool.
Yeah, was there like any like thing in particular you were curious about?
Um, oh, okay, what barriers have you had to overcome, or what barriers have you faced
Uh,
like to start it?
well, just to start, like the first question I had was like, okay, how do you even like publish a podcast? Like, how do you even get
Oh
it out?
yeah.
And how do you even get it onto like a platform or something? And then like that's where like actually one of my sponsors like was like a really big help. So it's this app called Anchor. It's actually made by Spotify for like podcasters and everything. It's just like a podcast suite where you can edit and like do pretty much everything you need to do with a podcast. But now that I'm a little further along, like I I'll probably have to use something a little more specialized. So it'd probably be like Audition or something. So yeah, I'd have to figure out a time to start learning all of those more, I guess, like technical programs and whatnot. So that was definitely like a big thing. Another thing is like getting guests and like booking guests. Like I've been rejected by way more people that have asked to be a guest on my show than people that have said yes. And it's like dealing with that rejection is like definitely something like you're not really taught in a way, if that makes any sense. Like
Yeah.
yeah, like you have to in a sense like have some thick skin and realize like, oh, they're not necessarily saying no to you to like hurt your feelings or anything. Like they're saying no because either time commitments or like it's just something they don't want to do. Like
Yeah.
what I've realized is that a lot of people are uncomfortable like putting out their like thoughts, feelings, and emotions out there into the internet. And like yeah, I don't blame them because it is scary. Like there's times where I'll record something and I'll be like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have said that, or ooh, maybe I should have said that like a better way or a different way. So like yeah, like getting guests and is definitely like the hardest thing I'm dealing with now. um but yeah, I'd say like other than that, it's like fun. Like this is exactly like how I like to spend my free time, just talking with friends or people I know about, you know, whatever it is they're doing or whatever they're passionate about. Like, yeah, I don't see myself wanting to spend my time like I guess like my more free time any other way.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, that was a
No,
very
that's
long-winded answer.
no. I think that's
Yeah.
cool. I
No,
mean,
yeah.
you obviously have like resilience, right? Like to like keep looking and asking people to guest star, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy because like there's a lot of like people that are your friends and you know, I know they're coming from a place of loving and they're like, "Oh, you know, I think you're wasting your time with this," or like, "Oh, nobody's listening to it." But it's like, "No, this is something I want to do." So like I'm going to do it. Like so having to go against like, you know, people that normally support you or would support you otherwise is like, you know, a little rough. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I don't
I
know
think
if you
it's
dealt with that.
yeah. I think it's just like caring about like what people think of you and like dude, honestly, that's something I've learned like through this whole
Mhm.
thing too because I felt that and I felt like I was afraid of like putting my content out there because people would be like, who do you think you are? Like you're not big and like there is like a chance that I won't ever like blow up to be like anything crazy. But
Mhm.
at the same time, I'm doing something I'm passionate about. So really it's not a waste of time. And like people will judge you no matter what you do, people will judge you anyway. So you might as well spend your time doing something you care about than what other people want you to do, you know?
No, I
It's your
totally
life.
agree. Like, I mean, you know, we talked about Skrillex slightly earlier. Like, he didn't become who he was overnight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, what I think that's like something that I realize a lot of people in their 20s like don't recognize is that like everybody starts somewhere. Like, you're not gonna just be an overnight success, and
Yeah.
especially in like more creative outlets like this. Like, of course, you're gonna be putting out, you know, bad podcasts or bad music or like, you know, stuff you're not necessarily proud of, but it's like a process. And like it's been pretty nice. So like on one of my previous podcasts I was able to talk to like one of my friends who's a producer, but like a film producer. And like, you know, it's very relatable in the sense of like, you know, we all deal with like very similar struggles when we're trying to produce like more creative pieces or more personal like pieces out there and put it out, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like his advice to me was just be consistent and like just like, you know, keep trying and just keep doing it. Like was his like big
Yeah.
tips. And then like it makes sense because like I took like a couple of weeks off you know, to work on my thesis and everything. And like that first episode I did, I was like, oh boy, like this is rough. Like speaking into the mic, like even like editing and like listening to your voice again. It was like, yeah, it's definitely not very fun listening to your voice, but I'd say like after a few hours of it, you kind of get over it and you just like deal with it. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, like I love my voice now. It's like my favorite thing to listen to.
Right.
Jokingly, of course, but yeah, I don't know. There's like some kind of like psychological thing about why people don't like listening to their own voices, but it's just something you got to deal with that in that regard. Um,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, I'm like all over the place today, but
I
but
don't
yeah,
know.
like
I'm following. Yeah.
yeah,
No, I get that. Also,
yeah,
like something that like triggered a thought when you said like, or when you were talking about how like people are like, oh, you don't have views or whatever. Like that's like something I've thought about too. And like I feel like it doesn't really matter. Like that's why you should do something you're passionate about rather than doing it for views, right? Like something you're
hmm
not passionate about, but just for clout, right?
right,
Because if
right.
you're doing it for clout and fame, you're probably like, yes, you might get somewhere. But like if you don't, then it's like you feel like you're wasting your time. And you honestly are wasting your time because you're not passionate about it. But if it's something you're passionate about, it's never a waste of time. And then at that point, numbers don't matter, right? Like
No,
that's how I see it. Like
I
I don't
totally
even
agree.
care like if no one listens to my song, like I
Mhm.
like it and I listen to it. So I'm like, all right, that's all that matters, you know?
Yeah, that's totally how like I totally agree. Like I see that with like my podcast too. It's like I don't really care if nobody's really listening to this. Like I enjoy like, you know, sitting down with you, talking to you. I enjoy the process of like listening to the conversation again when I'm editing it. So I'm just like, oh, like if I'm able to enjoy it, you know, while being a participant in the conversation, and I'm able to enjoy it as an editor, I'm sure there's somebody out there that will enjoy it as like a listener. Like that's the way I see it. And it's like, even for myself, it's like, oh, I really enjoyed this conversation. It'd be nice to go back and like take a look at, oh, what did we talk about? Oh yeah, like that was a really good time and everything. And then
Yeah.
and like in a way too, I guess you could say it's like it's almost like a journal, or like maybe even like a diary for myself, where like I can see how my thoughts like maybe change over time. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also feel like you're probably learning a lot because you're talking to a lot of different people. So you're always like, there's always something to gain. Like, it's not just about the numbers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just sitting down and listening to what like people are passionate about, to me, that's like very re-energizing. It's almost like you're just putting like a phone charger in me, and it's like like I guess in a sense like it motivates me to like keep doing what I'm doing. Or
Mm-hmm.
like if I'm feeling like if I don't have much motivation and I hear about like, oh wow, this person I know is doing this great thing, like they're really working hard and trying to push out whatever it is they're trying to do, it's like wow, that in a sense like it like motivates me or it inspires me to want to try harder and like do all the things that I want to do. It's like, especially like when I see you, it looks like you're honestly like the first like musician, at least like DJ in this regard that I know. And it's like, wow, music production. It's like that's something that like not many people are doing. And you're here, you're taking a risk in trying something like relatively new, and trying to in a sense like become better at it. Like I'm all for like becoming better at skills. And I like seeing everybody progress as they like want to I guess fine tune their skills or whatnot. And like yeah, it's fun. What
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
yeah, what about you? Like you have any like I guess like stories in the in a very similar light where maybe friends or whatever were like telling you, oh yeah, no, you shouldn't be doing this, or like, oh, stick to the stuff. Wow, did I really throw out a High School Musical reference?
Yeah, I just
But
like sang it in my head when you said that.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm mentally slow. Like I know my listeners have picked up on it. Like there's been times where my friends are like, "Oh wow, you sounded really slow with this conversation with this person," but then on this conversation, you sounded really sharp. I'm like, that's just life, man. Like you can't be sharp all the time.
Yeah, no, of
Yeah.
course. I think you're doing fine.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, you too. You're doing great.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Um, Wait, what was your question
So
again?
like do you have any stories in a sense of like, people telling you, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, or like anything related to like the stuff we're talking about now?
Not really, honestly. If anything, it's like my friends are super supportive of like
Mm-hmm.
what I do, and that's why I love them. Like I
Uh-huh.
feel like I just can't be around closed-minded people. Like
Oh,
it's
that's fair. Yeah.
yeah, it really like drains my energy.
What about your
But
parents?
yeah, my parents or especially my mom, I'd say,
Yeah.
like, no, she's super supportive of me too. Like she doesn't mind, but I think her concern is like pharmacy school, and like she just
Mm.
wants me to get a good education, like live a stable life. And she just doesn't, she's afraid it will interfere with my studies because I do spend a lot of time like stressing about it. And she's like, "What, you're always stressed all the time, like, and that's why like you should just like not do it for now. You can do it later." I'm like, "No, I want to do it now." And like I'm just complaining because I'm stressed. But like there's always going to be issues and like things you're stressing about, but like you kind of like decide what is worth stressing for, I guess. And to me, this is worth it. So I don't mind it. Like I actually have fun getting stressed about it, if that makes any sense.
Are
Like
you
I'm like,
addicted to
I'm okay
stress?
with it. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah, so
crazy. Does your how did your mom find out about this? Does she like follow you on like social media or something?
oh
Try
no,
and tell
I
her.
I told her. Yeah, I was like,
Oh.
I'm very close to my mom and like open with her, and like the
Mm-hmm.
moment like that R squared reached out to me, I was like, oh my gosh, like someone reached out to me, like this is crazy. And yeah, and then she even watched my first live stream. Now I don't tell her about it because it's kind of embarrassing, but
Mm.
yeah, I'll tell her like what happens. Like she's been playing my song on repeat even though she doesn't even listen to that kind of music. So
Uh-huh.
that's cool.
Yeah, that's cute. That's actually really cute. Like your mom's
Yeah.
it's good to have supportive parents, 'cause
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, when my mom found my podcast, she was not a big fan. Oh, okay,
Oh,
so
really?
initially she thought it was good because she watched it in reverse order. So like starting from my most recent episode and like, went through everything because I think I'm at like 8 or 9 episodes now. So yeah, so she started from the most recent and went backwards. So she saw it get progressively worse. Whereas like if you watched in
Oh,
chronological order, I feel like it'd be progressively getting better. But then like the point of, I don't know, this podcast is like kind of standalone. So like this podcast, has nothing to do with like the past episodes or anything. But then for some
mhm.
reason people just insist on wanting to listen to it like in order and everything. But which is fine and everything. But like yeah, like it was crazy how she found it because like I think she just Googled my name one day and it popped up. And she was just like, oh, there's and then she just sends me a text, oh, there's like a show or something online with your name. And then she listened to it and like realized it was my voice. And I was just like, oh
Oh
boy.
my gosh, that's so
Yeah.
funny.
No, it's not funny, not funny. She's
What a coincidence.
she's probably like thinking, oh look, he's giving me a shout out right now. No, mom, this is not a shout out. But yeah, like I mean, I guess that's like a very like as a parent, you wanna I think you want the stability for your children more than say like anything else. Like
Mhm.
what I've noticed too, maybe it's like a cultural thing since we're all Asian and everything, like parents really like the idea of having like a 9 to 5 job. I don't know. I don't know if you agree or anything, but it's not so much the job itself, but they like the idea of having like financial like stability
Oh, of
through a
course,
job.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know, like she thinks that like by me having this, like I'm gonna get like deplatformed or canceled or something because I say something I probably shouldn't say, which is very likely. Like I like to, I don't know, I'm pretty edgy in that regard. Like I'll admit, like I'll try to make a joke, and it's all with the goal of trying to make people laugh and everything. But sometimes it won't come out as well as I would like it to come out.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can see that.
it needs refining is like the
Yeah,
best
it's
way I could say
okay.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, you're just
and
really blunt or raw. Or I don't know if it's blunt, it's just very raw.
yeah. I mean, in that regard, yes. And then my humor is like very. I don't know. I feel like if you're really into like comedy, you'll get my humor. But if you're like an average person that just likes it, you might not get it, or you might be offended by it or something. So it's just like something I need to work on, and I hope to work on it when I'm like starting stand up. Yeah, it's something I'm definitely gonna do in the future.
Yeah.
Like 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 whether it be sooner rather than later, but like yeah, it's definitely something I'm gonna try out like one of these days.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
So
at least you're aware.
yeah, yeah,
It's good to be self-aware.
yeah. It's definitely rough, but like I enjoy writing or trying to write jokes. Like I know I should be spending more time writing like my thesis and everything, but I do spend a good amount of time writing jokes or like, premises for jokes or ideas for jokes and everything. And
Uh-huh.
like to me those are fun. Like you think of something and it's like, "Oh, I want to try to make this funny."
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, like and to me like that's just the process as of late. And then I'll try it out with like a friend or something and they'll either get offended or they'll laugh or they'll be like, "Oh, you can't say this like around kids or something." Yeah, it's like I'll kind of like yeah, it depends. Like I would yeah, I guess like my humor's too crude or something. Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's like definitely a niche for everyone, so
Well, I mean, I know I like to take risks in that regard. And
yeah.
yeah. I feel like for you to really to be like good, like you kind of have to take risks. Cause like I'll watch some of the sets from like, pretty famous comedians now. And like
Mhm.
those are the kind of risks I want to be taking. And like those are the kind of like premises that I want to be able to make funny. And it's just
Mhm.
like I know that I'm not at that level yet, but that's like a goal.
Right,
Make
right.
make like a make like a edgy, I guess, premise like funny. That's like my
Mhm.
goal in comedy. Whether and then it's just like trying to figure out like what kind of what it's gonna be.
Mhm.
Yeah. What about you? Do you have any other goals like in this music production field?
goals. I just
Yeah.
want to get more familiar with the software still, like the
Mhm.
production software that I use. Because I feel like I just like don't, there's so much more to learn about it.
Mhm.
It's super complicated, like way more complicated than I ever imagined it to be.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I definitely want to get better at that. And I think that's like my primary goal right now. So I'm trying to lay off the live streams because that definitely
Mhm.
takes away from like time.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then just work on like music production instead.
Okay. Are live streams like not a good place to practice or something, or uh, is it
Well,
just like a
live streams,
completely
it's
different
like,
style?
yeah, it's different because you're mixing other people's music usually. Like, because if you don't
Mhm.
have much music out, you'll mix other people's music.
Mhm.
Like music production is like creating your own music, so it's like super different.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
And you want to be producing more music. Uh, but
yeah.
that's like really interesting though. Like you said, a goal that sounds very like attainable versus me saying a goal it's like really far out there and everything like way down the line. Is
No,
that
I think
is
yours
that how
is
you
attainable.
is that how you like to set goals though,
I think
in like a
I
stepwise fashion?
yeah. Well, we kind of learn about that in pharmacy school. Like you should like try to make your goal attainable. But I also think it is good to make goals that scare you. Like if it doesn't scare you, then like, it's not a big enough, you're not dreaming big enough.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of fear of like failure among like just people in general. Like not many people want to take a risk because like they don't want to fail.
yeah.
And
Yeah, a
and
lot of people are afraid of that.
yeah, and I even know some people that are like I might even say are afraid of like success, like they think that if they become successful they'll be like a completely different person and they don't want that. So that also stops them from wanting to like, take the first step or even try anything new or even try what things that they're passionate about. Like my goal for like quarantine was to try to help people in a sense like pursue their passions, because I know a lot of people that are like unemployed now or have been unemployed for like an entire year now, and then just like do you want to go back to your job that you were telling me every day how much you hated? And some of them are saying yes, and it's just like, I don't know how I can help you make that change. But I'm really glad to hear like people like you and some of my other friends who have tried to do something a little more creative or tried to do something like starting their own business or something. Because like I think like that's like undervalued in your 20s, like people that want to take risks or people that like want to dream big. Because like yeah, it's weird to me that I don't know, maybe I'm the weird one that thinks it's weird that other people in a sense like don't have big dreams. I'm not trying to like, roast anyone out there or anything. It's just that like, yeah, it just blows my mind that like there's two, I guess, very different ends of that spectrum.
Yeah, like how different people are.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've definitely realized that too. Like some people just like prefer stability, and I guess, that's okay. It's their life. But yeah, I
Yeah.
guess we're just like the type of people who want more with their life, and that's also not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I agree with that. Like I I feel like the way I see it is like I don't want to live a mediocre life doing like a mediocre job that like, puts food on the table and that's it. And like, like super conventional. Like I feel like I want to do something like I'm crazy passionate about, and like I want to know that I live my life to the fullest. Again, and I can like look back at my life and be like, wow, I had so much fun. Like I really like did everything I've ever wanted to do, and more kind of thing. So
Mm.
that's just how I see it. But I know a lot of people don't care for that. Like they just don't mind living a typical traditional life.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything else that you're thinking of maybe like trying in the future?
Not really. I did try to get into like coding and stuff, or um like tech, but
Mm.
yeah, I don't know. That's like I don't want to put too much on my plate. Like I'm just gonna concentrate on pharmacy school and then and like the music stuff, and like that's all I really have time for right now. But
No, I totally agree. Like I was honestly like wanting to learn coding too, but like the goal I had like a really far-fetched goal for coding. Like I don't know if I don't know if I'll ever be able to do it because everything else that I want to do, but like yeah, my goal in coding was like to create like a image recognition, like AI to help diagnose like say like skin diseases for like a dermatologist or something.
Oh, that'd be
Yeah,
cool.
but like I don't know like if I'll ever like make strides to tackle that goal or anything, and at least anytime soon. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But right now, like I need to like focus on like finishing grad school, getting into med school, and yeah, this podcasting is just like a hobby. It's a way to unwind. It's a way to, I guess, recharge, and then yeah, definitely want to try stand up too. Like yeah, it's just too disappointing that there's only one lifetime to do all these things. Like
Yeah, that's how I feel.
that's
And 24 hours in a day. It's not a lot of
yeah.
time.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's even like less time. Like they say you need to sleep too. Like
Oh yeah.
they
I
say
forgot
eight
about
hours.
sleeping.
They say 8 hours, right? But like, yeah, I definitely don't get 8 hours a night. I'm lucky if I get like 6.
Oh,
But
really? Wow. No,
uh,
you should definitely get 8 hours. It's life-changing.
I mean, yeah. So like last year actually for like my January like New Year's resolution was like, okay, I'm gonna sleep every day for a month, 8 hours, and I did it, and I was just like, wow, this feels great. Like it feels good to be like well rested most of the time and everything, and like
Mm-hmm.
you definitely feel yourself not get sick as often. It definitely helps with like your recovery and like the weight room and everything. So like, yeah, I'm all for it. It's just that like when you're too excited to do things, like sometimes it's hard to fall asleep. I don't know,
Oh,
maybe.
yeah.
And then I don't want to jump on like any of like those like sedatives or anything to help people
Mm-hmm.
fall asleep. Yeah, what people don't know is that that actually isn't like sleep. You're just like sedated. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, sorry. So how do you manage like everything you're doing? Like your time management, like it seems like it's impeccable or something. Like being
Oh,
able to do all these
that's
things.
yeah.
Like what's your
Something
secret?
yeah, that's something I've been working on. Learning to say no, first of all. And that's something I really struggle with. Like I always say yes to everything. Like work asks me to work, I'll be like, yes. And then I have an exam next week and I'll be like, okay, anyway. And then people ask me to live stream, I'm like, okay. And then there's a point like literally last month actually, I was so stressed out. Ended up getting like not sick, but I was so tired every single day because and I would still get 8 hours of sleep, but I was like ridiculously tired. Like I would just knock out like immediately, and that never happens to me. And then when I wake up, I'm still really, really groggy. And I think it's because I overwork myself where and this is really crazy, but I would write in my planner exactly what I had to do. Like I had an exam, I had to study for this, I had to work on the music, and I do this like per hour. Like at this hour, I have to do this hour, I have to brush my teeth and do this. Like, and it was crazy. And I got stuff done. Like I got so much done. I've like reached like the next level of productivity, but that's definitely not sustainable because I didn't have any time to myself. And
Mm.
yeah, so that's definitely not like something I want to do again. So definitely learning to say, learning how to say no. And yeah, it's just hard because like I'm a people pleaser. Like that's how my personality type is.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's something I really, really struggle with a lot.
Mm.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with like all the stress that comes with like everything you're doing as well? Because yeah, I'm sure you mentioned earlier that you're a very stressed out person. Like how do you like cope with stress or manage your stress?
Um, I cope with it by I think it's like kind of what you said, like I might be addicted to stress or something. Like I kind of like it in a way. Like when my life is
Mm,
not stressful, I get bored and my mind, like I have a really overactive like mind. I think a lot and I'll start thinking all these things and like getting really up in my head and going in circles with my thoughts. So
mm.
I honestly kind of like being stressed out. Like and I like challenging my brain a lot and like
Oh,
yeah, I don't know. I think it's really fun. It's like a game, you know?
can I ask what can I ask what you think about?
I think about a lot of things. Like, uh, I my brain goes like everywhere. Like, if someone says something, I'll like think of one thing that leads to another thing. Like there's really not one thing that I think about. Yeah. So I can't really exactly tell you.
For me, it's like the thoughts in my head that, in a sense, like tell me where I am in terms of like my mental health. So like I like to think a lot too, and if I'm thinking about like personal stuff, I find that like my like I guess mentality or mindset isn't in the right place. Like, and then when I know it's in a good place, it's like problem solving, because like what I like to do is like think about like world problems and how I might be able to like help or like solve those problems. So like I know like that's kind of like where that idea about like a image recognition for like disease, like some like skin diseases and or whatnot came from, because I'm like, oh, there's a big push for like healthcare for more people and more cheap, and it's like, oh, if you can have like an AI diagnose like simple stuff like certain acnes or whatnot or eczemas, then maybe have like a physician check it. You might be able to help like physicians see more patients faster.
That's
If that makes any
true.
sense. And
Yeah.
like that's like an idea that I had, and it's like, oh, if you can write like an image recognition for say like skin disease that requires like color and contrast and everything, it's like, well, what about like all the radiology stuff like x-rays and like CT scans or whatnot? If you could create like an AI that could help like radiologists or whatnot like make those diagnoses. Like, I don't know, those are just like ideas that I had. There's probably some really smart person out there already working on it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's an idea that I had. Another idea that I had was in um, North California. There's like a lot of sea urchins that are like destroying like the coastal ecosystem. And I figured, oh, like why don't we just find fishermen to like harvest them, because it is the edible variety.
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
yeah, I would eat that.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, this is just like ideas that I like to have. Like, I don't know, whenever I'm bored, I just like to think about problems and like ways to potentially solve them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, that's how I know that like I'm doing okay mentally, if I'm like thinking more big picture than rather like self, like of myself and
Right.
everything.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. I know you're really busy. It's been almost an hour and a half now. Would you like to re-pitch your Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, anything, social media?
Okay, yeah. So I have my Instagram is Kaytoxik, Kaytoxik, and then that's also my handle for SoundCloud, and Twitch. If you go to twitch.tv/Kaytoxik, sometimes I'll stream. It's not always music stuff. Sometimes like I'm just chatting. Yeah. Oh, and my Spotify is Kaytoxik too. Yeah, I haven't claimed my artist page yet. I'm in the process of it. So yeah.
Okay,
So
quick
it's not like
question.
personalized.
Quick question though. Like, how did you come up with that name?
Oh, so I'm like super, like if you like are really close to me or you like spend a lot of time with me, you'll notice my life is very chaotic, because I'm really extroverted and I want to do a lot of things all the time, but then at the same time I can be really scatterbrained, and then all that together makes my life seem very chaotic. And I was gonna make it chaotic, but then someone already had that name, like Kay.